How do you master a complex tune like All the Things You Are so that you can improvise jazz lines all over the neck? Well, the CAGED system is probably the best method. And in this video, I'm going to cover all of the chords for All of the Things You Are and look at how they're related to the underlying CAGED system. First, I'm going to play through the form once to get some ideas flowing. Here we go. Okay, so as I kind of navigate through, I'm thinking my way through the changes, and what I'm trying to do is have as the basis of my thinking chord tones. Sometimes this is called chord tone soloing. So I'm using kind of caged patterns in the chord tone soloing concept, and then I'm using different devices to connect the skeletal harmonies and make it sound more like jazz. Those are things we'll probably talk about along the way here. Things like passing tones and enclosures and approach tones and things that make the arpeggios, which can kind of sound like just an exercise, make them sound a little bit more interesting like jazz line. So let's dig in. The first thing I'm going to do is turn off the bass and just practice to a drum click here. So we're going to take each chord and we're going to thoroughly investigate them within a position. So the first harmony is F minor 7. And in this position, in first position, the arpeggio looks like this. Now, what I'll do is try to play some lines that are a little more syncopated and have more contour, but restrict myself to just the tones of the arpeggio. Then I'll go to B minor 7, B flat minor 7, I'm sorry. Flat 7, A flat major 7. String available to us there, the 7th. Now what was I doing there? I know that the 7th, the major 7th and the root are half step away, but I can also do that sort of approach note to the 3rd and to the 5th, or even to the 7th itself. So that's one of the first things outside of the CAGED system that I'm introducing here, is the idea of that half-step approach from below. And very often, you know, in classical music, they call it a mordent, a bite, or. But it can be really useful to give those half-step approaches to the CAGED shapes. So we have A flat major 7, and then we're into D flat major 7. Now, as I was going along there, we've got the first 4 chords of the piece now. We have F minor 7, B flat minor 7, E flat 7, and A flat major 7. Or if you like, you can play it like that. As I'm going along, I'm playing chord voicings as well. Any combination of those 4 tones within each of these scale positions gives you, you know, viable comping or chords for whatever purpose. So in the first one, I played this, which is drop 3, F minor, and then up here I played drop 2. On this one, this is another drop 2 voicing that many of you play. You know, I want to keep this video mostly about the arpeggios, but I just want to say that really arpeggios and chords are the same thing. It's just 2 views of the same thing, right? So the more you learn these arpeggios, the more options for chord voicings you're going to see on the neck. They're just going to appear to you. You don't have to have a chord dictionary because you know the members of the harmony and you can configure them more in an improvised kind of way on the fly. So as we move forward here, we're going to get into D flat major 7. So now we're on the on bar 5 of the tune. So here's D flat major 7. I'm using a bar sometimes, like here. And then we have D minor 7 for a half bar, but let's just treat it like the others. So D minor 7. G7. And then C major 7. Saying here that it's hard for me actually to play the dominant 7th as pure dominant 7ths because I'm so used to thinking, for example, thinking G7, playing like flat 9s and alterations, because most of the time I would say it's pretty rare to hear just a plain dominant chord in jazz, to hear just like this kind of a sound. There's always something going on, like maybe there's a flat 9 or you know, like a sharp 5 or a flat 5 and a sharp 5. You know, there's always some alteration to the dominant. And what I would encourage you to do is, as you're playing through these CAGED shapes, one of the first things you can do to sort of make it sound more jazz-like is to play flat 9s on the dominant chords. It just introduces that slight amount of tension. So you're adding the note that's a half step above the root. It adds a bit more tension and it gives you a stronger resolution to typically the 5th of the upcoming chord. So if I have this A flat involved, I can enclose the 5th of the next chord, which is the C major 7. So the harmony is going, or G7, flat 9 to C major 7, or often the flat 7, flat 9 of the dominant chord enclose the 5th of the chord of resolution, in this case C major 7. So we've talked a little bit about how you could play approach notes, half step below each note. This creates the possibility of the enclosure, 2 notes that literally, you can see it on one string, they physically enclose, kind of surround. That's another term that's used, surround tones or enclosures. They surround or they enclose a target tone, in this case the 5th of C. So you've got, okay, so we looked at G7, now C major 7. In that position gives us chord voicings like this, or this chord voicing. This one includes some other tones, but I would just encourage you, as you're studying each of these systematically, you're relating them to chords as well. All of this stuff is really, I call it wiring the brain for music. You're going through and you're literally like an old telephone operator where they had patch bays. They'd patch a call from San Francisco to Austin or something. They'd physically patch it through on this big patch board. You're doing that in your brain for harmony. And this is pretty intense, but you're going to systematically go through every chord in the piece in all 5 caged positions. So that's quite a number of patterns, but by going through this systematically, it's one of the best things you can do for your improvisation and your understanding of harmony. It's much better than kind of noodling for hours, getting tired, coming back to it the next day and doing the same thing. This is really applying a very logical approach, a very thorough approach, and it pays dividends, I promise. It gives you, the paradox is that this structure gives you a lot of freedom, ultimately. Okay, so now we are on bar 9, we're at C minor 7, and we're staying in this part of the guitar. So let's play a little bit. I'm gonna play on just the C minor 7 chord. So here's C minor 7. Not super interesting to listen to, but I'm showing you how I go about it. I'm trying to play with a decent sense of time. I'm trying to be creative, but I'm just getting my hands to know all of the notes of C minor 7 that are available here, okay? So it's not flashy, amazing jazz playing or anything, but it's correct, and it's doing the job of wiring our brain for the harmony. I would bring your attention to this though. Check this out. So what are these 2 notes doing? They're not part of the arpeggio. You see the C sharp and the D. These are passing tones. So that's like a third category of chromaticism, of ways to make the lines sound more like jazz. You can connect the root and the minor third of a minor 7 arpeggio with those chromaticisms. But let's move on and stay focused on the frame of the building here. So the next one is familiar to us. It's F minor 7. We've seen it before, but let's practice it anyway. I'm starting to play minor pentatonic, so I should avoid the tendency to play that extra note. Now B flat 7, we haven't seen this yet. E flat major 7. Open string, open G. Another common chord voicing. So we had C minor 7, F, minor 7, then B flat 7. Where would the flat 9 be, by the way? Then E flat major 7. So you can hear how that flat 9 gives the pull to, in this case it's the 5th and the flat 7 enclosing the major 3rd. Although they're the same notes as the ones we looked at before, they're different in this harmonic context. So that was the 6-2-5-1 in the key of E flat major 7, E flat major. Then we go to A flat major 7. So here we're again, we've seen that chord before. In this context though, it's the 4 chord instead of the 1 chord. And so we could add, in the case of this A flat major 7 in this bar, we could add the D natural, which would make it Lydian. So here I'm just doing like an added note type arpeggio, which can be very pretty. Then A minor 7. A minor 7 going to D7. Let's play that in time a little bit. A minor 7. D7. G major 7. Now on the D7 again, a flat 9 sounds nice. So what was that? That was D7 flat 9 going to G major 7. You can start to practice these as you get comfortable. Practice them in 2 chord pairs. So you're just practicing the transition from one harmony to the next. And there are, of course, thousands of ways to do that, even in this one position. But if I play D7 flat 9 going to G major 7, here are some ways I could do that. Or how about, this. How about, or how about, so I think a big part of playing jazz, is finding your own individual pathways through these things. We're all sort of playing with the same materials, but we're doing it in slightly different ways, which gives us an identity as a player. But again, it's a little bit of a paradox. I said before that the structure ultimately gives you freedom. It's also true, I think, that these playing very plain lines, like you know, there's nothing ground shaking about that, but it's your relationship to those things and kind of coming back to them and deepening your relationship to the basic structures that really reveals your identity as a player ultimately. So, okay, that is roughly half the tune. Well, it's the first 16 bars of the tune anyway. So we've done about a tenth of the work, if that makes sense, because there are 5 caged forms, right? And we've done half the tune in 1 caged form. So I'm gonna just continue in this lesson. I'm gonna continue, do the rest of the tune within this position, and I'm gonna leave it to you to do the other 4. And I've created a resource. You can see the PDF there below, a resource that's gonna help you visualize this. And you'll see that it just shows the diagrams like you've been seeing on the screen. And those diagrams, you could just kind of flip through the PDF, practicing each one with a drum machine, with a good groove, and working that position for a while, moving to the next chord. And if you're a beginning player or even a more advanced player, this is gonna really strengthen you, build you up. So let's look at A minor 7 again. We've done this harmony before, so I'll go through this quickly. Here's A minor 7. By the way, it's good to practice these descending. I do slurs sometimes. With the flat 9. Back to G major 7. F minor 7, flat 5, and I'm going to do it sort of in this position. So I'm playing from the flat 7, root, flat 3, flat 5, flat 7, root, flat 3, flat 5, flat 7, root, flat 3. To play these open E's, open A string, or you can play them closed, which puts us a little bit more in the next caged position, but it's okay. So, both of these C's are possible, both of these E's are possible, both of these A's. Most of the time, this tune, if you find a lead sheet, the next chord will say B7 flat 9. So that's probably the most, strictly in this first position, that fingering I just showed you. F sharp, A, B, D sharp, F sharp, A, C, D sharp, F sharp, A, B7 flat 9. Chord voicing for that might be like this. It's a little more of a flamenco sounding chord, but I've got like a B major, which is, by the way, that's based on the A major caged form. So here's B major, And then I put a flat 9 and I put a C natural on the 3rd string here. And then we have E major 7. So that is a 2-5-1 in the key of E major, but with the minor 7 flat 5, which is pretty nice. And then let's look at the last chord on this system here. Usually people write like a C7 with a raised 5 here, and that's what I've done. So how do we do that? We have C7. If we played the chord that everybody knows for C7, but raise the 5th. So the chord progression is, and then kind of a whole tone kind of sound. 1, 3, sharp 5, and then flat 7. From the open E string, we'd have the 3rd, E, G sharp, B flat, C, E, G sharp, B flat, C, E, G sharp. And I kind of like this chord, where it's just the augmented triad with the root on top, or if you want, you can put the 9th on top. So it's worth practicing just those 4 chords, because I find that most people are a little less, slightly less familiar with the minor 7 flat 5 sounds and the dominant 7 sharp 5. So I'll play some lines. I'm gonna just kind of stay in one harmonic zone for a little bit, and I'll tell you when I'm switching. So I'm not really playing the tune yet. This is another important process thing for learning tunes. Just stick with one harmony. That's all F minor 7 flat 5. Flat 9. The 6th in there, you know, the C sharp in there as well. So you have and then our C7 with the augmented. Let's go down. Okay, so we have the basic harmonies in place here now. So what we're gonna do is now play the harmonic rhythm. And it's good to start like a bass player. Just play quarter notes like this. So F minor 7 flat 5, B7 flat 9, E major 7, C7 with a sharp 5. And I'm gonna play just quarter notes, just chord tones. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that line was only chord tones, and that kind of way is good for getting your thinking to be quick enough that you're coming up with the right tone, you know, in rhythmic. It's almost like you're making you're quantizing your thinking. You're making your thinking rhythmic. And then later you can play, you know, the eighth note kind of stuff, syncopations, triplets, and things like that when you're comfortable with it. Okay, we're on the home stretch here. So in the tune, the next thing that happens is just those first 4 bars, the 6, 2, 5, 1, 4 in the key of A flat major, just like the first 5 measures of the tune. We'll skip over those for now. In the next bar though is a D minor major 7, and in this position, D flat minor major 7. Let me say that correctly. You'd have this. So here's D flat minor 7, but we need a major 7. So here if we like. So the stretch is there because I have 1 flat 3, 1 major 7, 5. F sharp. I think I played F natural before. Sorry about that. F sharp is your flat third. So in this position, the arpeggio from the lowest note sounds like this: minor third, 5, major 7, root, minor third, 5, major 7, root, minor third, 5. I think I said that right. Then we have a C minor 7, which we've done before. We won't look at that one. There's really only a couple new chords left in the whole tune. One is the B fully diminished 7th. So in this position, it's really built around this chord. And what you want to do is find some ways to play this include open strings, and then some ways that don't include open strings, because the ones that are all on closed strings are going to be maybe more useful up the neck. They're more movable. So one way, if I play with open strings, I play the note B. Let's go down to the lowest note. So in this position, we have B, then we have A flat, F, F, A flat, B, open D, F, open B, D, F, A flat, and now I'm going to come down and use closed strings. A flat, F, D, B closed, A flat, and then here maybe F with the second finger so I can get the D closed here. Some people call this like crab walking, you know, it kind of feels like you've probably seen it. You're kind of shifting and playing across the guitar diagonal. You'll see that in all kinds tons of stuff, even in like Villalobos's guitar music and things like that. But you can often I think you can often use open strings to good advantage because they allow you to get a little more agility. Sometimes that crab walking thing with the diminished gets a little funky for the hand. But at any rate, diminished lines could sound like this. Check this out. That's one of the beauties of the diminished, right? Is you learn it in one position, you've got the whole neck. So, okay, the final part of the tune, it goes again 2, 5, 1 in A flat. So we've done all of those chords already. And then typically what people will play as a turnaround is G minor 7 flat 5 to C7 flat 9 back to F minor 7. So we only have 2 chords left to look at. The last one is going to be G minor 7 flat 5, G F D flat B flat G F D flat B flat G F. Here are the chord tones: flat 7 root, flat 3 flat 5, flat 7 root, flat 3 flat 5, flat 7 root. Common chord voicings. So this is G, F, B flat, D flat. Or if you want to play it up here as a drop 2, we have G, D flat, B flat, F. And here's a nice one, which is really B flat minor 6, but that's a different topic for a different day. But we have flat 3, flat 7, root is open, and then the flat 5. Those are some good voicings. And then this one, of course, which is pretty dark, but it's 1 flat 3 flat 7. Sorry, 1 flat 5 flat 7 flat 3. It's like this one, but the D flat is down an octave on the 5th string. So continue to think of those chord voicings. Now, where's this chord go? And it goes there quickly. Take a listen. It goes to C7 flat 9. So here's some lines from G minor 7 flat 5 or half diminished into C7 flat 9. F minor 7. So it's a 2-5, minor 2-5-1. Well, I'll give you some examples. How about this one? Or how about starting to do things that are outside of my recommended practice here. So I'm starting to play all of those chromaticisms because I've kind of ingrained them as the language, but I'm promising you that actually, although when you play these CAGED arpeggios like I did, and you go through each form, so we just did 1/5 of what I would do for practice. We did really starting on the E caged form for F minor. And then I played everything in this region of the guitar. I sometimes got into 2nd position and a little bit even a 3rd position, but that as I feel myself doing that, I start to discipline myself a little bit and say, hey, no, back down. You're in here right now. This is what you're practicing. And then in the next position, what I would do is go to what we call the D form of F minor. So CAGED is always C-A-G-E-D, right? So it happens that the lowest F minor is the E form. So the next one is going to be D, and then it's going to start at C-A-G-E-D, C-A-G-E-D. If the guitar had like 1,000 frets, it would just loop like that infinitely. But since we're in like this confined space, depending on what harmony what key center you're starting on, that determines the starting CAGED position. So we're in the E form of F minor, like if we have a capo here, looks like E minor. So the next one is going to be the D form. And I play all of those. Now, after D, what comes next? C. So the C form for F minor is in this area, and I play the whole tune in that area. Then what is the A form of F minor? Imagine you have a capo on the 8th fret, you play an A minor chord. That's your F minor, F minor 7. Play the whole tune in this area. And then the last one is the G form. And it's a little hard to see, but imagine you had a capo on the 10th fret and you play a G minor chord, right? Or G major, G minor. So then in this position. And you'll get faster and more efficient at this. I mean, I did a lot of talking. So you could run through the whole tune, run all of the CAGED forms for every arpeggio in a song pretty quickly. It might take like 20, 30 minutes. And you'll have, like I said, wired your brain for harmony for the tune. And then, as I was saying a moment ago, you'll start to integrate all of these different forms of chromaticism. We talked a little bit about approach tones. I'll just take a random harmony here. Well, since we were just on it, take C7 flat 9. So C, E, B flat, D flat, that's 1, 3, flat 7, 9. You can approach each note by half step. You can play chromatic enclosures. You can play passing tones. What did I do there? I started on the 3rd. The flat 9 would be the next note, but I can fill that in chromatically. Now what was that? I played chromatic from the 3rd, 3rd, flat 9, flat 7. Then I played flat 9, half step approach to the root. So passing tones, approach tones, the surround tones or the enclosures, all of these things become, like I said, sort of your identity, where you choose to do them, how much, and just the physical way that you accomplish that on the instrument is really a personal thing. But the structure of these, bare bones, skeletal, the framework, I think of the framing on a house, like the 2x4s they use to frame up a house. That's what these arpeggio tones are. And then how you want to do the rest of the design is up to you. But I hope that is a helpful lesson. For $7, I have a PDF put together for this tune that shows all the arpeggio patterns on the whole neck. And I think it's useful for efficient practice. Of course, this information is available all over the place. But to have it organized in this way will allow you to just pull it up on your laptop or on your phone and just swipe through the tune. It'll save you a lot of time and help you practice all of these CAGED forms. So I hope that was a helpful lesson for y'all, and have a great day. See ya. I'll play you out a little bit. See you next time.